Hey y'all, it is another episode of Tuesday Tips with Adra, that's me, and I am one of the business coaches and also one of the program coordinators right here at Business Impact Northwest. So, for today's Tuesday Tips, I wanted to be quite raw and real. This is why I'm not wearing any makeup. Most people know I love to have on my brows to give you very specific faces. But I wanted to talk to you guys today about the 5C's of financing. So, if you are someone who is going to be applying for a loan, looking for lending at any point, your 5C's are going to be looked at from any lender who is looking at your loan application. And luckily, here for us at Business Impact Northwest, we have the freedom to look at your C's in a particular kind of way that maybe a traditional lender won't view your 5C's at. Okay? So, what that means, we'll kind of go through. But 5C's of financing. Okay? So, your first C is character. If you go to a regular commercial bank, you'll see it just listed as credit. So when we look at character, we're looking at your credit. What is your behavior with money? Okay. Now, with most lenders, you want your credit score to be in the 680 and above range. This is the good to great credit. Now, not everyone's credit is going to be up there for lots of different reasons. That's why at Business Impact Northwest we call it character because, well, depending on what your situation that maybe has your credit score in the like 570s, we can look at those things and see, how can we still be able to give you that access to capital. I tell people often, if your credit C is your one C that's not that great, but your other C's are awesome, we will try to find a way for you. Okay? There are a few things with your credit that sometimes the banks can't get around. There are some things that sometimes we can't get around, but we will try our best to make sure you can get that access. So, first C, credit or character. Second C, capacity. Capacity is literally looking at your resume, looking at your experience. Now, how does that work?
I can't find it anywhere.
Well, if you're going to start a business, and let's say you have complete,
I couldn't
years
the
of
whole
experience
one,
in the
right?
field.
Like, usually,
when we look at your resume,
Lily would
we're
say
gonna
that
see
stuff in the
that
development
you have
folder.
the knowledge, the experience to take this business and to really make it profitable, to really grow it. On the flip side, if you
go
are
in the
opening a
I did
business
the
that you may not
2010
have
and the
any
2008
particular
when I
experience
found.
in that, we're going to look at two different things, right? We're going to look at your SWOT analysis from your business plan. And if you don't know what that is, you can definitely reach out to me, to us here at Business Impact, and we will talk to you about what those things are. I also teach workshops on understanding all these C's. But we're going to look at your SWOT analysis. So I'll use the example of opening a restaurant.
I mean, all the separate
documents
are there,
you've
right?
Never worked in a restaurant before. I'm going to look at your SWOT analysis to see that you put that in there as a weakness, but that you have a plan.
Right?
So maybe
We
you're
should be
coming in
able
with a consultant
to,
who's going to work with you the first year to make sure that you understand every
like maybe
aspect of your
Graham's
business. Okay? I'm going to look for
maybe
what relatable skills
Grams.gov
that you
has
have
all the
to this
archive
business,
stuff.
to this industry.
All right, here, let me
that will
find. Okay, let
somehow
me go into
tell
the
me
folder.
that you have the capacity to make this business grow because you have that knowledge, that skill set. So that is the capacity. It's going to look at your resume. And for credit and for capacity, it's going to be for any person who has 20% or more ownership in the business. So keep that in mind for these 5C's. Your third C is capital. And this is any money you have in the bank, any savings and checking that you want to put toward it. It's also resources.
So if you go
purchased
into the
some
folder
big capital
That's
expenses
2016.
towards your
Mhm.
business, this is your
and you
skin
support
in the game.
or
You have made a commitment
sort by
to
most
this business
recent
by
or
putting
date
in
modified.
some of your own money. We're gonna look that you have,
The one
you
that
know,
says
for whatever your loan amount
it's
is, whatever
Jessica's
you're asking for,
basically
that
like
somehow
her
you
last
have 20% at
edit.
least
That's what we
of
did.
resources to put
But that still
toward,
has edits
you
in
know,
it.
your startup.
Well, we
needs.
did a word
That
version
is
of that.
capital.
Yeah,
For the
okay.
fourth C is
That's the one that I
collateral.
pulled up here.
Collateral makes
Yeah,
a lot of
I
people
mean,
nervous because not
But you
everyone
can
owns
change it
things.
without
Collateral
the
for
edits.
most
I just never
your
know how. I
house,
can't
your
ever say that.
cars.
And
It's
help.
different things
edits
put
in there,
together.
I can
And
change
collateral
Yeah.
is
but
looked
there's
at
like
for its
And then there's all
little
this
chunks
price.
of sort of like,
So,
this is
if you're
this
gonna
needs
apply
this,
for a
there's more
loan
information that
for
needs to be put here.
$20,000
So yeah, so for the way that
You
one
should
went is we
have
had to
a
have separate
collateral
attachments
item
for these things.
that
So
at
like
the
the milestones was a
liquidation
separate
value
attachment.
is gonna
The
equal
travel narrative
20,000.
was a separate
So
attachment.
you bought a car. You
Yeah,
bought
I
the
have all
car
that,
for $20,000.
But like this one has
It's
still
paid
needs
off,
draft
it's
short
good to
paragraph
go.
on.
Maybe you even put some work into it. And this car,
But I can use
you
that.
say
I
is
mean, that's fine.
20,000.
I mean that was the
We're gonna look at
closest.
Kelly
Yeah,
Blue
that was the
Book.
closest.
And if
to
Kelly
it.
Blue
what I
Book
got.
says, well,
And then like there's
we're
the
gonna
marketing
price
piece
this
that you
car at
put together, right? That's down
$15,000.
there.
Yeah.
you're gonna need to have another collateral item.
And then
for
there's the
5,000,
templates. So if
right?
you want to send,
So you can do it
there's
so
like
where you have your
support letter. The
one-to-one.
last four
That means I
documents
have
are the different
collateral
support letter
for
templates that we
20,000
use.
to my $20,000 loan,
Mhm.
or it's somewhere at least
If you wanna
70%
use
close.
that.
Okay, so that is collateral. You can
I
have
don't know where the
co-signers
whole
on
thing
your
is, though.
collateral. That is
I'm
definitely
sorry.
okay to do.
I'm sorry.
But you know, there's also, depending on what your credit score is, we even here at Business Impact have some low collateral lending products. Now they're for a low amount. Again, you can reach out to us and we'll let you know what those options are. But for collateral, you know, 1-to-1 or at least 70% of that loan amount. This is what basically, if you know, if the loan has to be closed on, this is what the bank is gonna come and put their hand on. So keep that in mind as well. The last C comes down to cash flow. And this is looking at your finances for the business. If you've already been in business, then we're gonna look at, okay, the history. So what's the financial history of this business? And, you know, income statements, you know, balance sheets, we're gonna look at those things. May even look at tax returns. Tax returns are a part of your loan application. So, you know, looking at those business taxes and the history. We also look at whatever you project for the next 12 months out. Now, this is where we open that floor up to startup businesses. So if you have, you know, not started the business, but you've done your homework on it, we're gonna look at that cash flow. And on our website at businessimpactnw.org, there is a resource area. I think it's underneath like services, I believe, where you can find a loan readiness list. And in there is a financial workbook that we like to use. It's 5 tabs, looks at whatever you need for startup, looks at, you know, forecasting out, you know, how much money you're gonna bring in, looks at cost of goods, so we know how much you're gonna have to pay for. Then it looks at your expenses and your P&L. And then on the 5th tab, it shows us where your cash position is. And this is whatever money you have at the end of the month to start you off the next month. And when you do those kind of things, the things that a lender's gonna look at is that cash position to make sure that you are never below 0. And that, you know, if you're gonna factor in the loan, whatever capital that you put in, we're gonna look at that bottom line for 12 months out to make sure that, you know, even though you may lose some money, because businesses lose money in those first 6 to 9 months because you're advertising, you are getting your word out, but then we get to see where does business start to take off and come back up. And it's a good way for you to know as well, when you graph that, how much money you probably should ask for of a loan amount. So, you know, that we can see from the cash flow. So those are your 5 C's. So if you are thinking, I want to get a loan, And what kind of things do I need to have in mind? Where do I start? Look at those 5C's first: capital, collateral, character or credit, cash flow, and capacity. We want to know exactly what you are, what you're looking at for this business, and that you have a full plan. Now, briefly, I'll mention to you that if you are going to have a loan application in, business plan, friends, business plan. I know you're thinking this is probably one of the longer of Audra's Tuesday tips, but again, I say we're getting real and raw. And, I will tell you now, business plan. Any loan you apply for, business plan. If you don't have one, you can reach out to us here at businessimpactnw.org. Sign up for some free coaching. Take one of our Square One webinars. I teach them, and I will help you to start to put together what kind of things are going to go into your business plan. But I did today want to touch on those 5C's. So that's where I'm going to leave you with today. You can go back, watch this video a few times through to, get an idea of those things. If there's other people who have 20% or more ownership in your company, make sure they watch this video as well, and you all can have those discussions. Now, I want to know if you have any thoughts on these things. Definitely below in the comments, let me know what questions you do have. And again, reach out to us. Also, I want to know what other Tuesday tips you want to know about. And I promise those ones I'll leave more in the 5-minute range, so you don't feel like you're sitting here too long. But let me know. Leave a comment below. What other Tuesday tips do you want to see? And I'll be back again next Tuesday with another episode of Tuesday Tips with Adra. See you then.